You ever have one of those moments where reality just breaks a little, like you're staring at something so absurd, your brain just refuses to process it? Yeah, that was me last Saturday. My wife was in the backyard with our twins, blasting Lizzo and chasing them around with water balloons. I was in the kitchen, making grilled cheese, just chillin'. Right, then the doorbell rings. I wasn't expecting anyone, maybe a neighbor Amazon package. Nope, it was them, my parents, standing there, matching polos, smiles way too wide for people who hadn't spoken to me in 7 goddamn years. Hi, honey, my mom said like we were picking up mid conversation. We were just in the area and thought we'd stop by. We'd love to meet the girls. I didn't say anything for a full 10 seconds, just stood there holding a butter knife, my jaw basically on the floor. WTF, did they mean meet the girls? Where the hell were they when I was in labor for 29 hours with no epidural because the hospital fumbled the damn paperwork? Where were they when we got married, when we adopted our twins, when we bought this house? They were exactly where they always were up Chase's ass. Flashback to the real beginning. My brother Chase was the golden boy, the prodigy, the Stanford MBA, the startup whiz, the walking LinkedIn profile. Meanwhile, I was, whatever the opposite of that is, artsy, queer, quiet. Not interested in hedge funds or golf. Definitely not who they bragged about at the country club. Growing up, everything Chase did was framed in gold. I remember once I got into UCLA with a partial scholarship and showed them my acceptance letter. My dad barely looked up from his newspaper. Isn't that a party school? Meanwhile, Chase got a new MacBook for getting a B+ in chemistry. Every birthday, every holiday, every freaking moment it was Chase, and I tried. I really did. I got good grades. I kept my head down. I even applied to law school once just to make them proud. But I always felt like a placeholder in my own family. The inheritance moment. Yeah, that broke me. About 8 years ago, our grandparents passed away. They weren't flashy people, but they had money real estate, retirement accounts, a lake house. It was supposed to be split. Even my grandma made that clear before she died. So I waited, grieved, showed up to the will reading in a black dress I couldn't really afford. Turns out, I got a single ceramic angel figurine from their mantle. That's it. The entire estate, 6 figures easy, was handed over to Chase, because he'll know what to do with it. When I asked my parents why, my mom looked genuinely confused. Well, sweetie, he has a family to support. I remember staring at her in shock. I was engaged. I was planning a family. I was busting my ass teaching high school to make ends meet. I walked out of their house and never looked back. Deleted numbers, blocked emails, sent back the Christmas cards unopened. It wasn't even about the money at that point. It was about the years of being invisible. Callie, my now wife, was the one who helped me rebuild. She loved me the way I never thought possible. Loudly. Fully. Without conditions. We got married in a bookstore. We adopted our twins, Hannah and Zoe, a year later. And for the first time, I felt like I was home, like I didn't need anything from anyone. Especially not the people who made me feel like an afterthought my whole damn life. So yeah, seeing them on my porch last weekend, I was shook. I wanted to slam the door in their faces. Instead, I let them talk. They gave me the usual, "We've missed you. We didn't know how to reach you. We're so proud of what you've done with your life." All lies, or half-truths, at best. Then came the kicker. My dad shifted uncomfortably and cleared his throat. Chase and his wife, they've decided not to have children. Oh. There it is. They weren't here because they missed me. They weren't here because they had a sudden change of heart. They were here because their legacy dried up. No heirs, no smart little grandsons from their golden child, no mini Chases to take over the family name. So now they were looking at my daughters like some kind of emotional insurance policy. Like, "Whoops, sorry we ignored your existence for 3 decades. Can we meet the kids now?" I looked my mom straight in the eye and said, "You don't get to show up now, not after everything." She looked hurt, like I'd slapped her. Good. I didn't yell, I didn't cry, I just closed the door. They didn't just take the rejection and walk away. Oh no, that would have been too easy. A few days after the porch incident, I was back to normal life, kinda. Still had that weird heaviness in my chest, like someone left a door open in my house, and I couldn't find it. You know that feeling? Anyway, it was Wednesday morning. I was dropping the girls off at school, humming along to their little morning playlist, Let It Go, for the millionth time, and my phone buzzed with a text from Callie. You're not going to believe this. Your mom just called me, crying, wants to reconnect. Also, she asked if we needed help with tuition. I nearly dropped my damn latte. First of all, what kind of person ghosts their daughter for 7 years and then calls her wife second of all? Tuition. Our girls are 6. They're in public school. I texted Callie back. Do not engage. Seriously, don't. But my wife, bless her endlessly patient soul, had already taken the call. Later that night, she told me everything. How my mom cried, sobbed, apparently, said she regretted so much, and how her health isn't great and it would mean the world to see the girls. Said it's not fair for them to grow up without knowing their grandparents. And then she started bargaining. We could help with a car, or maybe set up something for their future, college fund, or if they ever need private school. I felt something snap in my chest. They weren't just asking anymore. They were trying to buy their way in, like their money was some kind of magic wand that could erase everything they'd done or hadn't done for the last 3 decades. I laughed, the angry kind, the kind that sounds like it's stuck between your ribs. They really think this is about money, I asked Callie. She just shook her head. They think money is love. That's the only language they know. And yeah, she's right. When I was 10, I broke my arm at a softball game. My mom showed up late to the hospital and handed me a Tiffany bracelet. I remember her saying, "You'll forget the pain, but you'll always remember this." I still have the bracelet. I kept it to remind myself what love isn't. A week passed. I didn't reach out. Callie blocked the number. We didn't tell the girls anything. They were too young, too happy, and didn't need to be dragged into this mess. But my parents weren't done. Next came the letter, handwritten, on ivory stationery. Script so perfect, I knew Mom probably made Dad rewrite it 5 times. We want to be part of your lives again. We made mistakes, but that doesn't mean we don't love you. You'll understand when you're older and the girls grow up. We only did what we thought was best for the family. Screw that. You know what hurts the most. They really believe their actions were some kind of misunderstood love. They genuinely think being cold, dismissive, and transactional is what parents should be. Like I was too sensitive, too dramatic, too emotional. No. I was a kid. I was a daughter who wanted them to come to art shows, who wanted a damn hug after graduation, who wanted to be seen. And now that their perfect son wasn't delivering the grandkids, they suddenly remembered I exist. Nah, I wasn't going to let that fly. Then came the wildest part. Callie got another call this time from a lawyer. Apparently, my parents were considering pursuing grandparent visitation rights in Oregon, where we live. Let me repeat that for clarity. These people who cut me out of their life, skipped my wedding, didn't send a single card when we adopted our daughters, wanted to take me to court so they could have access to the children they'd never even met. I laughed. Then I cried. Then I laughed again. It was that kind of day. The lawyer was professional but vague, probably didn't want to get too involved yet, said they were exploring their legal options and hoping to resolve things amicably. Let me tell you something. You do not come for a queer woman who's survived years of emotional neglect and then married an actual attorney with a spine of steel and a heart the size of Texas. Callie didn't even blink. Tell them to file whatever they want, she said. There's no existing relationship. They have 0 grounds, and if they keep harassing us, we'll file for a protective order. My wife, my ** King Rock, and here's the beautiful irony, the same law degree my parents mocked her for public interest law. that's not real money, is now the wall standing between them and their performative little fantasy of being grandparents. I didn't say anything that night, just curled up next to her on the couch and held her hand. The next day, I sat down and wrote my parents an email. Not to open the door, not to negotiate. Just to make something crystal clear, you don't get to cherry-pick your family based on who gives you legacy points. You don't get to step in now and pretend you care when you've ignored me for most of my life. Your absence wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a decision. And so is this. Please do not contact us again. I attached a picture of our girls at the beach, happy, goofy, covered in sand, smiling so big you'd think the world was perfect. Then I hit send, and I blocked their email addresses. Later that night, Callie came home with flowers. I asked her what they were for. She kissed my forehead and said, "For drawing your line, for protecting us." "I'm not gonna lie," I cried. Not from sadness, from relief, because for the first time in my entire life, I wasn't begging to be chosen. I was choosing myself, and damn, did it feel good. 3 days after I hit send on that email, I got tagged in a Facebook post by my Aunt Jenna, my dad's sister. Now, I don't talk to that side of the family anymore. Most of them are country club clones who love passive-aggressive thoughts and prayers, energy, and believe anything can be fixed with a casserole and a tight smile. The post read, "It breaks my heart to see families torn apart. Grandparents deserve a chance to know their grandbabies. We never know what time we have left. Family matters. No names, no direct call-out, but it didn't need one." I knew exactly who it was about. So did half my extended family, because within an hour I had texts from 2 cousins and a nosy ex-coworker asking, "Is everything okay with your parents?" I was fuming. You want to neglect your daughter for 30 years, show up uninvited, try to bribe your way in, threaten legal action, and then play victim on Facebook. I couldn't even respond. I just blocked her and poured myself a glass of wine before I ended up responding with something like, "Tell your brother to stop weaponizing regret," when he couldn't even RSVP to my wedding. Callie, of course, stayed calm. She always does. That woman is built like a fortress. She reminded me, this is what people like them do when they lose control. They spin a story. She was right, again. But it still sucked. It sucked that they were the ones crying wolf, while I sat there second-guessing whether I'd been too harsh for protecting my family from people who couldn't even remember my kids' names. The next week, Chase texted me. Yeah, him. I hadn't heard from my brother in probably 4 years. The last time we spoke was when he invited me to one of his startup launch parties. I declined, because it was the same weekend as my daughter's birthday, and he replied with the emoji and wow, priorities. We hadn't spoken since... Anyway, the message just said, "Hey, I heard there's some drama going on. Mom and Dad are upset. Mind if we talk?" I stared at it for a while. Honestly, I almost deleted it, but curiosity got the better of me. So I replied, "Not sure what there is to talk about, but sure." He called that night. Voice still smooth, still corporate, always sounded like he was 5 seconds from pitching a startup idea. "Look," he started, "I get that you're mad. They handled things badly, but they're our parents. They're getting older. Do you really want the girls growing up without knowing them at all?" I wanted to scream. "Chase," I said, "do you even know what they've done?" He went quiet for a second. I mean, yeah, but they're trying now. I laughed out loud. Trying now, after 7 years, after leaving me out of the inheritance, after ignoring my wedding, after never sending a single gift or even a damn text when we adopted the girls. "Okay," he said quickly, "but they're still your family. And you're still doing what you've always done," I snapped. "Making excuses for them so you don't have to sit in the discomfort of how much they failed." He didn't like that. I could hear it in his breath. The slight inhale. The silence that followed. Then he said something that knocked the air out of me. You know they gave me everything because they thought you wouldn't need it. That hit weird. Excuse me. You always had your own thing going. They thought you were independent, strong, like you didn't need support the way I did. I blinked. Not because it made sense, but because it sounded like something they told him. Some neat little lie they wrapped up in a bow so he wouldn't question why he got the house, and I got a ceramic angel. And worse, he believed it. So let me get this straight, I said. They watched me bust my ass for years with no support, no help, no money. And instead of stepping in, they used my strength as a reason to withhold love. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. I ended the call, didn't slam the phone or yell, just clicked end and let the silence settle like dust. That night, I took out a box I hadn't touched in years. It had old photos, letters, report cards, the kind of stuff you keep in shoeboxes because you think maybe someday you'll want to show your kids. One picture hit me hard. It was from high school graduation. Chase was front and center, holding up his Stanford bound sign. My parents on either side, beaming. And me, I was in the back, cropped halfway out, like I'd photobombed my own family moment. I stared at that photo for a long time. And then I threw it in the trash. Because I don't need proof that I existed in a family that barely acknowledged me. I exist now, fully, loudly, loved. And my daughters, they'll never feel the way I felt in that picture. Not on my watch. The next morning, I got another email from my parents. Short this time. No tears, no bribes. Just this, we're sorry you feel the way you do. We only wanted to fix things. No ownership, no real apology, just the kind of generic nonsense you send when you want to clear your conscience without getting your hands dirty. I didn't reply. I archived it. But I couldn't stop thinking about the phrase, sorry you feel that way. Because that's the thing about people like my parents. They don't apologize for what they did. They apologize for how you reacted. They don't say, I hurt you. They say, it's unfortunate that you're upset. And I've had enough of that kind of sorry to last a lifetime. That Friday, we hosted a backyard picnic. Callie made her famous lemon basil pasta. The girls helped string up little paper lanterns. Our neighbors brought a cooler of sparkling lemonade, and someone brought a ukulele and played yellow while the sun went down. It was simple, messy, perfect, and looking around, seeing my kids laugh, seeing my wife smiling in the glow of string lights, I had this moment of clarity. This is family, not blood. Not obligation, but choice, love, presence. We didn't invite anyone from my side. We didn't need to, because we weren't missing anything. The truth. I spent most of my life waiting for people to love me the way I deserved, and now I just love myself enough not to wait anymore. 2 weeks passed. Things had quieted down. No more texts, no emails, no unexpected visitors. The energy around the house had finally shifted back to normal, messy breakfast tables, dance parties in the kitchen, paint-stained fingers on the weekends. Peaceful chaos. My kind of normal. Until Tuesday. That's when the letter showed up. No return address. Just my name. Neat cursive on cream envelope paper, the kind that looks like it should come with a wedding invitation or a trust fund announcement. I knew immediately it was from my mom. I didn't open it right away. I left it on the kitchen counter and stared at it while the girls did their homework and Callie prepped dinner. Callie noticed. You okay? It's from her. She didn't ask which her. She didn't need to. You don't have to read it. She said, seriously, we've closed that chapter. I nodded. I know, I just kind of want to see what chapter they think they're writing. After the kids went to bed, I made a cup of tea, sat on the back steps, and opened it. It was 5 pages long. 5 pages of I did my best. 5 pages of you were always more sensitive than Chase. 5 pages of we didn't mean to hurt you. 5 pages of bullshit. And then, buried somewhere in the middle, one paragraph stopped me cold. You have to understand, when you told us you were marrying a woman, it broke our vision of what your life would be. We felt lost. We didn't know how to react. I felt my jaw tighten, my stomach turned. They weren't just bad parents, they were cowards. And for years, I'd blamed myself. Thought I wasn't good enough, thought I was too angry, too emotional, too difficult. But the truth is, they didn't reject me because I was broken. They rejected me because I refused to break for them. I didn't respond. I didn't even finish the letter. I folded it up, walked inside, and dropped it in the trash. No ceremony, no rage, just done. Later that week, my oldest daughter, Zoe, asked me something out of nowhere while we were brushing teeth. "Mom, do you have a mommy?" It hit me sideways. "I do," I said slowly, "but we don't talk." "Why?" I paused, thought about sugarcoating it, thought about lying. But kids, they can smell fake from a mile away. "Because sometimes grown-ups don't know how to be kind," I said, "and it's my job to protect you from people who forget how—" She nodded, thought about it for a second. "Okay, you and Mommy are the best grown-ups anyway." She went back to brushing, like it was no big deal. But me, I had to step out of the bathroom and sit on the floor for a minute, just to keep from sobbing in front of the kids. Because in that moment, I realized something wild. I wasn't just protecting my daughters from toxic people. I was protecting myself from reliving the same pain through them. That's generational healing, and it's faster as king hard. The next morning, I got an alert on Instagram. Chase had posted a photo of my parents holding a baby. Caption: "Love seeing them finally get to be the grandparents they always wanted to be. #chosen family # unconditional love." It took me less than 0.3 seconds to figure it out. They weren't his kids. Of course not. It was some friend's baby, or maybe one of his wife's nieces or nephews. Didn't matter. The message was clear. Look what you're denying them. Look what we still have. I laughed. Like, actually laughed. It wasn't even anger at that point, it was sad comedy. Because only my family would use a borrowed baby and a hashtag to emotionally manipulate me on social media. Callie offered to report the post. I told her not to bother. "Let them scream into the void," I said. "I'm not echoing back." And it was true. For once, I didn't feel pulled to defend myself. Didn't feel the itch to explain, justify, perform. That part of me, the people pleaser, the bridge builder, the good daughter she was gone. Not burned, not buried, just evolved. That weekend, we hosted movie night at our place. Just friends and neighbors. People who show up without expectation. People who ask about our day and listen to the answer. We made popcorn. Kids laid on beanbags with sticky fingers and tired giggles. One of our friends brought over her new girlfriend. And by the end of the night, she was helping Zoe braid her doll's hair on the floor. Chosen family everywhere. And as I sat there, curled up on the couch with Callie, watching our girls fall asleep in a pile of blankets, I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Whole. Not fixed, not perfect, just not waiting anymore. Not waiting for them to apologize the right way. Not waiting for the past to be rewritten. Not waiting to be seen. On Monday, I sent Chase a message. Not out of obligation, not out of guilt, just because I needed one thing to be clear. I'm not angry anymore. I just refuse to let them rewrite history for Instagram likes. If they ever want to know their grandkids, it'll have to start with knowing their daughter. And that ship had sailed a long time ago. He didn't respond. Left me on read. I expected that, but I didn't need closure from him. Because for the first time, I wasn't looking for anything in their direction. Not love, not approval, not even validation. Just distance. Peaceful, permanent, protective distance. People think cutting off family is dramatic. It's not. It's quiet. It's crying at 2 a.m. because your mom called you selfish the last time you spoke. It's feeling a pit in your stomach every time you see a voicemail from someone who never really liked you, just tolerated you. It's realizing your life is better lighter, brighter, louder without them in it. And then choosing that peace over and over again. A month went by. No letters, no texts, no random Facebook posts trying to subtweet me without actually tagging me. I was finally breathing easy again. The girls were back in school. Callie had just wrapped a major case, and we booked a small family getaway for fall break, one of those cozy forest cabin types where there's no cell service, and the main attraction is watching your kids roast marshmallows without setting their eyebrows on fire. Then I got a call. Not from my parents. Not from Chase. It was a friend, Danny, someone I hadn't talked to in a while, but who still lived back in my hometown. She was whispering when she called, which already had my stomach in knots. Hey, so, weird question. Do you know anything about this fundraiser your mom's running? What fundraiser? It's on Facebook for some grandparent advocacy thing. But she's using photos of your kids. I went cold. What the asterisk CK are you talking about? I'll text you the link. I clicked it as soon as it came through. And there it was. A public GoFundMe titled, "Help Us Reunite with Our Grandchildren Family Belongs Together." There were 2 photos, one of my girls, a beach pic I'd posted privately months ago, and another of my parents sitting together, hands clasped like someone just shot the opening of a Hallmark movie about grief and redemption. The description. We haven't been allowed to see our only grandchildren in over 7 years. Our daughter has cut all ties with us without reason, and our hearts are breaking. We just want the chance to be part of their lives. Every child deserves the love of their grandparents. We're raising money for legal costs to fight for visitation rights under Oregon law. My blood pressure hit the ceiling. They took my children, my story, twisted it into a manipulative sob fest to get strangers to throw them money, like this was some kind of courtroom Lifetime special. Worse, they made it look like I was the villain. Like I was denying my kids love out of spite. Like I was some vindictive brat who wouldn't forgive poor, fragile retirees who just wanted to bake cookies and share life wisdom. I was shaking. Not the kind of anger that explodes, the kind that burns. The kind that runs silent and deep, like a current under ice. Callie got home an hour later and found me pacing in the backyard. They crossed the line. I told her, this is defamation. This is straight up weaponizing my kids for clout and cash. She didn't even ask for details, just took my phone, scrolled, and her face changed. It wasn't rage, it was something scarier. It was surgical. We'll handle it, she said, voice calm, eyes cold. Within 24 hours, Callie had drafted a cease and desist and had a takedown request filed with GoFundMe and Meta. The fundraiser was reported hundreds of times. Friends, mutuals, old co-workers, even Danny, who texted me. Let me know if I should drop a spicy comment before it's gone. We didn't go public, no statement, no big post, just private action with legal receipts. And within 3 days, the fundraiser disappeared, page not found, donations refunded. Clean cut. But the damage was done. Not to me, not to Callie, not even to the girls. They never saw a thing. The damage was to them. Because the moment that page went viral enough to catch attention, someone, a reporter from a local paper, reached out. Hi, I'm covering the rise in family court GoFundMes, and I saw your parents' story. Just wondering if you'd be open to speaking about the other side. For a second, I hesitated. I didn't want to be messy. I didn't want to drag my girls into public chaos. But then I thought about the next family they might try this on. The next daughter they'd try to guilt into compliance. The next queer kid who spends years thinking they're the problem. So I said yes. We did it anonymously. I was Emily, and the girls weren't mentioned by name. But I told the truth. Told them about the favoritism, the erasure, the inheritance, the absence. Told them about the manipulation, the threats, the weaponized grief. Told them about how healing doesn't always come in the form of reunions. Sometimes it comes in the form of silence, of boundaries, of raising kids who never have to doubt for 1 second that they are enough exactly as they are. The article dropped a week later. It was fair, balanced, but honest. It didn't name names, but in the right circles, my parents' social orbit, it hit like a grenade. Suddenly, their sympathy train lost steam. People started quietly distancing themselves. A friend of my mother's sent a message not to me, but to Danny saying, "If that's really what happened, I can't support them anymore." No drama, no clapbacks, just quiet unraveling. Like a truth bomb dropped in the middle of a curated life. I thought I'd feel victorious. I didn't. I felt neutral, calm, kind of like watching the tide pull back after a storm, not because I wanted revenge, but because justice, real justice, isn't loud, it's quiet, still. It's getting your life back without needing to destroy someone else's to do it. The next time I saw Chase's name pop up on my phone, I didn't even flinch. It was just a text. I read the piece. I didn't know all of it. I'm sorry. I didn't answer. There's nothing left to say. A few days later, we took the girls to the cabin. No internet, no headlines, no alerts. Just trees, hot cocoa, blanket forts, fireflies. At night, while Callie read bedtime stories, I stepped out onto the porch and looked up at the stars, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel small. Didn't feel like I had to shrink to fit into a family that never made space for me. Didn't feel like I owed anyone an explanation for protecting my peace. I just stood there, still. And finally, free.